Hello, welcome to Language Around Us. Today we're going to talk about a superpower that we all used to have as babies. Well, in addition to being cute. But before we reveal the answer, let's first listen to two sounds and see if you can tell them apart. Row, low, row, low. Well, if you're an English speaker, you may find it very easy to distinguish them, right? It's row and low, so drastically different, easy peasy. Now listen to these two sounds.
Ha, ha,
Try again.
ha, ha.
Are they really different? They both just sound like ha, right? However, if you're an Arabic speaker, you'll be able to tell them apart immediately. Yes, they are different. The two examples just now suggest that what languages we speak will determine what sounds we can distinguish or what sound differences we are sensitive to. But when did we learn to do this? In elementary school? In kindergarten? Or even earlier? In fact, scientists found that by the time we turn 1 year old, we're already pretty much like adults. This is to say, the sound you're now sensitive to, the 1-year-old you were also sensitive to them. The sounds you are not sensitive to now, the 1-year-old you were also not sensitive to them. But we could barely speak when we were 1 year old. So how on earth did we learn these things? Well, time to reveal our superpower. When we were first born, we were in fact sensitive to all kinds of sound differences. No matter which country we're born in, no matter what languages our families speak, we're all the same. We can all distinguish between ba and pa, row and low, as well as the two H sounds that I'm not able to pronounce correctly. Later on, we started to grow while listening to the people around us talk in a certain language. And our little brain is paying attention to the sound differences that are useful for this specific language. For instance, babies growing in an Arabic-speaking environment would notice that all these three pairs of sound differences are useful in Arabic, while babies in an English-speaking environment would notice that it's not useful for them to distinguish between the two H sounds. So slowly, they're going to lose the ability to do so and choose to pay their attention to useful differences like ba and pa, row and low. Now, if the babies are growing in a Japanese-speaking environment, they would notice that distinguishing row and low is also not useful, so they will lose that ability to do so. Wait, so we're losing our superpower? No, it's a bad thing. Well, not necessarily. Think about how busy our brains will be if we were to keep track of all the sound differences all the time. By focusing our sensitivity to the useful ones only is just helping us to learn the specific language more efficiently. So, if what we used to have at birth is a superpower, then during month 6 to 11, we're gradually developing our focused power. So by the time we turn 1, we're pretty much like adults. So far, we've been discussing monolingual babies, which are babies that are exposed to only one language. What about bilingual babies who are exposed to 2 languages? If the focusing process takes 5 months for monolingual babies, will bilingual babies take twice the time since they need to split their attention to 2 languages? Scientists at the University of Washington decided to look into this. In order to do so, they need to test the baby's sensitivity to sound differences. But wait a minute, how do we do that? Obviously, we cannot just walk up to a baby and ask them, "Hey buddy, Can you listen to these two sounds and tell me if they're the same? Traditionally, scientists observe babies' sucking rate of a pacifier. If the rate becomes faster, that indicates that the baby might have noticed the sound changes in the environment. Now, thanks to our technology, there is a machine that allows us to directly peek into the baby's brain activity. And ta-da! Here it is. With this machine, all we need the baby to do is just to wear this helmet, sit in the chair comfortably, and stay awake. This helmet will then help us to detect the baby's brain activity. So when we play sounds, we can see whether their brain reacts to a certain sound difference. If yes, it means that they can distinguish between the two sounds. And if not, it means that they've lost the ability to do so. More specifically, the timing of the brain activity can also tell us which power is being used. The superpower or the focused power? If they react early, it means that the babies are using the superpower and they're still paying attention to all kinds of sound differences. If, however, their reaction happens a little bit later, it means that they're using the focused power for a specific language. The experiment found 11-month-old monolingual and bilingual babies. The monolingual ones hear English growing up, and the bilingual ones hear both English and Spanish. During the experiment, scientists played 3 types of sound repeatedly. The first one is a sound that only English has. The second one is a sound that only Spanish has. The third is a sound shared by both languages. This is how the sounds may be played. For most of the time, the shared sound is played. But at some point in the middle, the English-only sound will appear. If the baby is sensitive to English, they should recognize this change and we should observe brain activity. Same for the Spanish-only sound. The prediction is that English monolingual babies should be sensitive to the first contrast, but not the second, while English-Spanish bilingual baby should be sensitive to both. Now, is the prediction correct? Drum roll, yes! That's exactly what the scientists observed. But don't forget that we're also interested to know which power the babies are using. So the scientists took a closer look at the timing of those brain activities. It turned out that the monolingual babies are using the focused power, while the bilingual babies are still holding on to their superpower. Wait, does this mean that bilingual babies are delayed in language development? Don't jump to the conclusions yet. In order to answer that question, let's compare them with their monolingual peers side by side. First, are they less sensitive to English? No, they're equally sensitive. What about Spanish? They outperformed their monolingual peers since the monolingual babies already lost sensitivity to Spanish sounds. Now let's look within the bilingual babies. Do they know that English and Spanish are 2 different languages? Yes. Their brain reaction to English sounds are consistently stronger than that to Spanish sounds, which means that they know these are 2 different languages. And don't forget that they achieved all these within 11 months, which is exactly the same amount of time as the monolingual babies. Isn't that impressive? Now you may wonder, for how long can the bilingual babies hold on to this superpower? This is an interesting question that a lot of scientists are working to solve, so stay tuned. In addition to what we talked about just now, scientists also looked at which parts of the brain light up when the bilingual babies are reacting to the sounds. It turned out that these areas happen to be the same areas that enable us to be flexible, to resolve conflict, and to handle multitasking. This may explain why a lot of research found bilinguals to be better at these skills. The secret is that they had a head start. They need to constantly juggle with two languages even before they could speak. Babies are truly fascinating, right? We first learned about a superpower at birth that gives us the capacity to learn any languages. And then by looking at bilingual babies, we realized that our brains can be tuned to learn not only one, but two or maybe more languages. So let's be proud of ourselves. We worked hard as babies. If you're interested to know more details about the experiment we just discussed, here is a QR code that will take you to the original article. This is the little language science story for today. Thank you, and stay tuned for more.